Moo. Lucas.
Justin Timberlake.
Let's see if he's right. You are right. Cry me a river. So Lucas gets one. Evan zero. Here we go. Next one. I'll be your silver. I'll be your gold. Oh.
Justin Bieber.
Justin Bieber. As long as you know me. Evan, this is not looking good for you, man. Oh, you only listen to Christian music. Right. I'll take every single piece of the blame if you want me to.
Justin Bieber.
Yes. Sorry. 2-1. Here we go. Next one. I can see us holding hands, walk.
Justin Timberlake.
For the win!
For the win! Marlo! Lucas. Let's give it up for Lucas. Lucas, you win a $15 movie. Give it up. All right, I need 2 more people for the next round. Next round. Me. I can't see you. Let's go, Cade. I need a girl.
Take her out to eat. High service eval camera. Calling me out.
Sophia.
Justin.
Don't forget to turn that.
Yes.
You ready, Cade? You ready, Sophia? All right. The vacancy that sat in my heart is a space that now you hold.
Justin Bieber.
Oh. Mirror by Justin Timberlake. Kate, you get a point. Here we go, next one. I gave you the key when the door wasn't open. Just admit it. Justin Timberlake? No. Where are you now? Justin Bieber. Next one. I want to show you all the finer things in life.
Justin Bieber.
Justin Bieber, Beauty and a Beat. That's a good jam right there. Stay out here living the life nobody cares who we are tomorrow.
Justin Timberlake.
Take back the night. You like that song? I think this is your last question and you win, right? How many points do you have? 2, 3. You have 1. So, 2 more. Wait, you have 3. I can't count. How many points does she have? You need 1 more. Here we go. And even though it's a struggle, love is all we got.
Justin Timberlake.
Justin Bieber, 1 time. Sophia, you win a $15 gift card. How many of those are left?
That's it. Somebody, there's 1 more.
Just 1 more.
1 more.
Okay, let's put this one all together. Here we go. All through my city, all through my home, we're flying up, no ceiling, when we're in our zone. Okay, let me hear you clap if you think, oh, there it is. Justin Timberlake, can't stop the feeling. So what I learned is this. There are some people in this room that really, really love Justin Bieber. And Lucas is not one of them. You don't love him. It's okay. I love Justin Timberlake. Justin Bieber. NSYNC. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to start the countdown. If you need to run to the restroom, this is your last chance and we'll get started. Woo, yeah. Y'all sound excited.
I'm a good night, man. I need me back here, see? I guess right here.
Get that music.
each beat reminding us that we were made to live together. A family history that started with our Father who bound us by blood and washed us with water. And in His handwriting, we wrote a family tree. Jesus, our light and our hero. Since then, we've always found beauty together as one body with many parts, living together as light. We are at home, we are a body of space, a promised land, a hometown, a pin drop. That's us. This is our tribe, dwelling together. So committed to the bond of the whole family that we feel when one of us is missing, or hurt, or hasn't come to the family meeting in a while. This is our tribe, dwelling together, in a space where broken is allowed, and judgment is not, and honesty is required, and showing up matters. This is our tribe, dwelling together, in the space where salvation is offered relentlessly, consistently, and authentically. Because once we've experienced the light, we can't help but leave the door flung wide open in the face of darkness, fearlessly telling the story of how we became this tribe of light.
All right, guys, stand up and come up. We're going to go into worship.
As I reflect, I find perspective. You're in the best and worst days of this life. You were always on my side. You're in the pain, you're in the promise, and my days of furious finds my faith. You're the forth within the pain.
know, one thing that I really love about getting to come and hang out with you every single week is that no matter what happens from Monday to Sunday, I know that I can come into this room and I can worship with people that know that life is not always perfect, that know that no matter what happens, that God always has them. Whether we feel comfortable raising our hands, whether we feel comfortable opening our mouths and singing words to God, I think deep down inside, all of us know that no matter what, God has our back. How many of you guys know that that's true? That no matter what, God has your back. Now, in a room this size, I'm not naive. I know that there's some people in this room that hear that phrase, that no matter what, God has your back. And that brings up anger inside of you. That brings up pain inside of you. That reminds you of something that God didn't seem to have your back on. Maybe it's something like you praying that your grandma who has cancer would be healed. And God decided to heal her in a way that is a little different than how you expected her to be healed. Maybe you thought that God would take the cancer away, but instead the way that God healed her was taking her to heaven. Or maybe you're like me, and some days you wake up and you don't understand why God loved you so much that he sent his son to die on the cross for your sins. That sometimes there's things in your life, if you were anything like I was in high school or middle school, that I did some stupid stuff. And yet somehow God still chose to send his son to die on the cross for my sins. Some days that's just so overwhelming to me. And I know as middle schoolers and as high schoolers, it's not cool to talk about your feelings. But I do know this, that the God that created the entire universe created feelings. And if there's any place where we can talk about feelings, it's in this room. If there's any place where you can feel safe for raising your hands or opening your mouth and singing songs to God, it's in this room. The next song that we're going to sing is one of my favorite songs. Literally almost every single time I hear it, God reminds me of different times in my life. Whether it's when I was a child and I was being abused, or when my sister died at 5 days old, or when my stepdad was murdered in his sleep. There are moments in my life where I wanted to give up on God, but God did not give up on me. There are moments in your life when you want to give up on God, but God did not give up on you. There are moments when you want to give up on yourself. And I'm here to tell you, I'm not giving up on you. God's not giving up on you. The leaders in this room aren't giving up on you. In the book of 1 John, it tells us this. 1 John chapter 3, verse 1 says, "See what kind of love the Father has given to us, that we should be called children of God." Everyone say children. That we should be called children of God. And so we are. The reason why the world does not know us is that it did not know him. You see, God called us his children. Everyone in this room is someone's child. No matter what your relationship is with your mom or your dad, whether you're living with your mom or your dad, or you're being raised by your grandparents, or maybe you're a foster kid, God tells us that above everything else that is happening on this earth, that we are his children. Everyone say children. And the reason that that is so important is because the God of the universe that created everything said that you're his child. And what that means is that everything that he has is yours. Every single thing. Every promise that's in the Bible for his child is a promise for you. God tells us that he would never leave us nor forsake us. I can tell you, standing on this stage, that I have seen that promise come true time and time again. The last verse I want to share with you is in 1 Peter. 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 9 says this. "But you are a chosen race." Everyone say chosen. "A royal priesthood." Everyone say royal. a holy nation, a people of his own possession, that you may proclaim the excellencies of him who called you out of darkness and into marvelous light. Once you were not a people, but now you are God's people. Remember, he called you his child. Once you were not a people, but now you are God's people. Once you had not received mercy, but now you receive mercy. You see, not only does God call you his child, he calls you chosen. The Bible tells us that before we were even born, God knew the amount of hair that would be on our heads. The book of Revelation tells us that every tear that we cry that we don't think that other people see, God knows. God knows the pain that you walked into this room with. God knows the hell that's happening in your home. God knows the situation that's happening in your school. And what 1 Peter tells us is that we are chosen. We're royal. We're God's children. So as we get ready to sing this next song, I don't know what we brought into this room. I do know this. When you crossed through those doors, the leaders in this room prayed. They prayed for you before you even walked into this room. I prayed for every single one of you this past week. I pray that God will bring you into this place and show you something bigger than anything you've ever seen. I pray that those of you that are holding back because you're too cool, because you don't know what others would think about you if you just chose to praise him, I pray that God would break that. I pray that those of you who walked in here with hurts from your home life, from your school life, those of you who are struggling with school, those of you who are overwhelmed by the things that are coming at you from every which way, that God would take those things and put peace in place of them. So as we sing this next song, I want everyone to close their eyes and bow their heads. God, we're here as your chosen children, a royal priesthood. We're laying down anything that we walked into this room with. We're laying down any unforgiveness that we walked into this room with. God, we're laying down any distractions of our parents fighting in the car on the way to church. God, we are laying down any abuse that we might have dealt with in our past. We're laying down the struggles and the anxiety of school, the pressure to fit in and to be cool, the pressure of the sports field, the pressure that we're putting on ourselves to be a great people. And instead, we're picking up the things that you told us. You told us that we're bold. You told us that we're courageous. You told us that we were made in your image. You called us your children. And God, since we know you're a good, good Father, we come to you as a child, our hands open wide, our hands stretched to the sky, because our help comes from you. And God, I pray as we sing this next song that you'll just continue to show us that you have chosen us for a time such as this. And our response to that should be to worship. And we pray all these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
shows the lonely and the weak. And his heart is good, he is always kind. With the cross he improved, he is on our side. We are the sons, we are the daughters of God. No matter where we go, we're close to the Father's heart. And though we stumble, he will not let us fall. We are the Lord's and he will never forsake his own. We are the sons, we are the daughters of God. The lies speak louder than the truth. Remind me I belong to you. When I can't see past the dark of night, remind me you're always by my side. When the lies speak louder than the truth, remind me I belong to you. When I can't see past the dark of night, remind me you're always by my side. Sing that again. The lies speak louder than the truth. Remind me I belong to you. Can't see past the dark of night. Remind me you're always by my side. You're by my side. We are the sons, we are the daughters of God. No matter where we go, we're close to the Father's heart. And though we stumble, he will not let us fall. We are the Lord's, and he will never forsake his own. We are the sons, we are the daughters of God. We are the sons, we are the daughters of God. No matter where we go, we're close to the Father's heart. And though we stumble, he will not let us fall. We are the Lord's and he will never forsake his own. We are the sons, we are the daughters of God.
Lord, we are so thankful that we are a part of your family. That when we were orphans, you called us out of that and you made us your children. And that we can call you our Father, our Papa. That when we need something, we can go to you and you will meet every need that we have. I pray, Lord, that you open our hearts and minds to hear the truths of your word tonight. In Jesus' name. You guys can have a seat as we continue in worship.
Is essential. It's essential for my life, for my heart. It reminds me of where my focus needs to be and has to be in order to be close to God. And that's beyond the song. You know, we sing songs every single weekend, but it's really not the melodies that make the difference, it's what we're saying. You know, it's what we're saying to God. So worship just becomes everything, you know. Worship is a response to a God who loves us. It's how we live our lives. It's how we treat our family. It's how we treat our friends. They're all pieces and parts of worship.
When I worship something, I'm saying that that thing that I worship is worth something to me. It's worth my time, worth my energy, my emotion, my focus. We all worship something. Watch where you spend your time. Watch where you spend your money. That will quickly connect to the thing that you worship.
What's up? The sky is not up because we're inside. So, you know what else is up? Your attitude. Burn, right. Roasted like a chicken nugget. I don't eat roasted chicken nuggets. I eat my chicken nuggets fried. Because I'm from Alabama. Roll Tide. Had to work it in just one time. All right, so we're continuing in this series on worship. I'm sure some of you are like, man, when is this series going to be over? This is the last week we're talking about it. So next week, oh, I know, Madison, I'm glad that you like it. So we're going to watch a video here in a second, like we did last week. And then after the video, I want you guys to make a lot of noise after the video. For the person that's speaking for us tonight, Luke Thompson is here, and he's speaking for us tonight. So, when we're done with the video, I want you guys to get to your feet, raise some noise, raise the roof, make some noise, clap your hands, and show Luke some love. Because I think what Luke has to share tonight about worship can ultimately change the way that you view worship and your relationship with God. But before we get to Luke, let's watch this video to see what these guys think worship is.
Worship gives me life. Like, without it, man, I feel lost. I feel alone because I was broken before. Like I didn't feel like I had hope. I didn't feel like I could be loved. And I found that in Christ. It wasn't even like I didn't have a choice. It's just what I wanted to do. I desire Him. I desire Christ in my life. I desire Him in my every day when I wake up and I read Scripture and learn more about Him. It changes me, and it gives me another reason to worship Him for His goodness to my family, even the hard times, because I know He's going to see me through it. I see thousands of lives every single weekend get changed. It's not because of anything that we've done, but it's because of everything that Christ did for us.
As we worship God, what we're doing is saying, God, you're the only one worth my worship, worth my energy, my focus, my gratitude for what you've done. And so it's telling God how valuable He is. Not just in a song, but in the fact that no matter who sees me, my hands are raised to you, God. Our hands raised to God is not a visual sign for people to say, that guy really loves God. It's a symbol of saying, God, I can't do it without you. I surrender to you. You're worth everything to me. We come to church because how could we not give an hour to God of our week? How could we not give our time to the person down the road from us who's struggling with something and saying, I don't know the answer to everything, but I know a God who does. And I'm standing with you. That's the least we can do, you know? And so, as we worship, it just so happens that we get to sing songs to God. And that's a way that we can ascribe worth to God, tell Him how valuable He is. Because what does music do? It moves us. Why? Because music has this nature about it that is moving. It's perpetual motion. You know, we all bob our head to that song, that beat that we love. What better way to move a person closer to God than through the gift of music? It's all throughout Scripture. It just so happens, though, that the words that we are singing with music is a prayer to God.
singing is mentioned like over 500 times, and that we're actually commanded 50 times to sing. It's kind of weird because some of the ways that it's put in the Bible is like honor your parents and saying God knew that we needed that, and it was just one of those things that we used in church. But some people don't like to sing, and in fact they probably say, hey bro, if you heard me sing, you'd think that we were like in the beginning of American Idol or something like that. But it's okay because God asked for us to make a joyful noise. And they talk about like even physiologically, like what happens when we worship. And they say that there's, if you're struggling with depression or anxiety, there's something about us singing together that just changes us, and it gives us relief in those areas, whether we're struggling with that or, and I know I'm talking about singing, but man, worship is so much more than just singing. The first time I ever raised my hands and how crazy that was and how weird it was. It's weird to me when people just raise their hands just because they're like, I'm standing here and I think I'm supposed to do this. Let it be something. Let it be a response of your heart. And I know for the first time for me, it was I just felt it. Man, I just let go. I let go of myself and my pride, and there's not a lot of things that will make me raise my hands. I think of my kids, and when they want me, when they really desire for that, they want their daddy's attention, they reach their hands up to me and they want me, and that, to me, that's what it just felt like. It's man, I want more of Jesus. I want to know more about him. I want whatever he's got for me. I'm there. I'm in it.
Worship it's every day. It's every moment. It's how you respond to that situation in school. It's how you respond when your parents ask you to do something. It's how we spend our time. And we have to make that a priority in our life. Whether it's coming to church and singing worship songs, listening to worship songs, or just how we treat other people, God being put in his rightful place has to be priority for us. And if something's priority, what do? You make it important. You start your day that way. You maybe end your day that way. You start your week that way. You're committed every week that way. And I would say the age, for me at least, middle school all the way through high school, I recognize that there isn't a better place to live out my faith every day than in school. I'm with these people all hours of the day for years on end, literally. And I regret looking back at my high school life and wondering, did people see a more committed follower of Jesus by the time I graduated? And I wish I would have taken that seriously, because the impact that happens is far broader than just your school. It's the spouses of that person that you influence. It's then the kids. Worshiping God without waiting for tomorrow. Taking every advantage today to put God in his rightful place right now. Not waiting till I get older, till I'm more influential, but believing that God has you where he has you to put him in his rightful place.
I just hope that kids or adults, we would all just recognize it's our life. And we say this a lot, but it's worship is a lifestyle. It's when I wake up, it's aiming every area of my life in accordance to what Christ would want for me. Because he always has our best in mind. He has our best interest in mind. So worship becomes the way I treat my wife, the way I treat my kids. It's my response to the guy on the road who's begging for change. It's how I treat the clerk at the grocery store. It's everything. They say actions will speak louder than words, so I can sing songs all day long, but if my heart isn't matched with that, with my actions, then it means nothing. The biggest part of it is the relationship. The more I thought about it just as a believer for myself, without the relationship side, without knowing God, without really digging into His Word and man, someone who can help me understand like what I'm reading and processing, and then praying and continually having like this communication with God. By having that, everything else happens. When that means like when you go to school, you understand like what would be the closest to the heart of God. So like that kid that sits in the corner every week, that sits by himself, how would Jesus respond to that person? Or in sports, it's easy for us to cut up, especially the guys in the gym or whatever. It's like we end up cutting up and doing those things. But what if our example was quite different? Like what if we were set aside to just continue to build each other up in a way that would just honor Christ? I just think about worth and how like we put value to a lot of different things, whether it's the music we listen to. There's value that we apply to that. There's value and worth to the clothes we wear, and in a way that you could actually probably picture that as worship. We choose those things. I mean, for me, I say it's probably clothing sometimes, I want to look a certain way. That actually could be considered worship. And it's the same with God. It's like we can put value and worth to Him by the choices that we make, the things that we do. Each day, you can either make the right choice or you can make the wrong choice, but the choice is yours. So we can honor our parents, we can not honor our parents. By honoring them, it's applying value to them, telling them how much we care about them, how much we love them. It's the same thing with God. Like when we make the decision to do what His Word says, to honor Him, that is worship.
Appreciate it. Thank you guys. Alright, before we begin, we gotta do one thing first. Someone had a birthday. Do you guys know who that is? Tebow! Everyone have a birthday. Happy birthday, Tebow! Great, good. So, attention back on me. So, my name is Luke Thompson. I am from Cesar, Illinois, home of the Custard Stand. Y'all like that place? Custard Stand, yeah. So I've been there almost my whole life. I played 3 sports there. I played basketball, baseball, and golf, if you consider golf a sport, and people do. I grew up in a Christian household. My dad is an elder at my local church, and just being around that has kind of shaped who I am. But I always wasn't the person who I am today. So just to give you a little insight, I went to Red Lake College, and then after that, I went to the best university in Illinois, SIU E. Go Cougs.
Go Dog.
Oh, no. Okay, that's all right. Roll Cougs. No. Roll Tide. Yeah. Well, that is where God kind of started coming in my life. About the beginning of my junior year, he said, I want you to go into ministry. And I said, you don't know what you're talking about. He's like, nah, yeah, I do, I'm God. I said, no, I'm in business right now. That has nothing to do with ministry. And he goes, yeah, I know. And I go, okay, well, what do you want me to do? He's like, I'll show you in a couple of years. And I was like, a couple of years? And he's like, yeah, you'll know what you do in about probably 2019. I said, 2019? I was like, 2017. Like, come on, Dad, help me out. And he's like, no, just go into psychology, it'll be quicker. And I was like, oh, he wants me to be a counselor. I'm like, I could work at a church like that. Like, I could talk to kids. I could be a marriage counselor. I was like, yeah, I'd be good at that. And then I got into psychology, and I loved it. And I was like, oh, yeah. I was like, psychology's the way. And so, the beginning of my senior year, he's like, you're going to do an internship at a church. And I was like, internship? I didn't really plan on doing that. He's like, yeah, you're going to go to Cornerstone. I was like, okay. I was like, where's Cornerstone at? He's like, Marion, Illinois. I was like, all right, going back home. So came back home for the summer and did an internship here and absolutely loved it. They put me in the, I guess we called it Surge back then, but I absolutely loved it. And then I was like, okay, God, I'll do student ministry. That's fine with me. And so I walked up to Michael one day and I said, hey, I want to work here. And he said, all right, sweet. Didn't text me. And I was like, all right, whatever, Michael, you're a jerk. So later on, about 3 months later, he texted me. He's like, yo, you still want to work here? I said, yo, yeah. He said, all right. Then text me again. I was like, okay. TiVo texts me. He's like, hey, your name's Luke? I'm like, yeah, that's me. He's like, you think about coming over here, get on staff, and work with some junior high and high school kids? Like, yeah, they're awesome. I'll come. And he said, sweet, meet me here. And ever since then, TiVo's like, you're my guy. I was like, you're my guy. And so I've been here getting to hang out with y'all. So in this video, there's a main point that is kind of happening. It's worship God with all that you have, all that you are, and all that you do. But in that video, there was 3 things I picked out. And those 3 things were desire, surrender, and worship. So, when we are worshiping God or anything we do, there's sometimes that desire comes out. But there's 2 kinds of desires that we probably are very familiar with. The first kind of desire is like when you're walking down the hallway and you see a couple and they're like kissing or like grabbing each other, you're like, ew, stop. Like, get a room, but you know, like, make sure Jesus is in there because we're Christians, you know, like, get a room, make sure there's another person, maybe an adult. Yeah, but and then there's like another kind of desire that we do. It's kind of desire that makes me think of sports, and when I think of sports, I think of a guy named Kobe Bryant. We still say his name when we do like a paper, like, oh, Kobe. Like, no one say that? No? Yeah, you do? All right, sweet. Someone says it. So, Kobe Bryant, I looked up at his work ethic and just kind of his workouts and the things he did. And he would get up at like 4 a.m. every day, and he would do an hour workout before he went to the gym. Then, he went and got thousands of shots up for another hour. And then for another hour, he worked on his basketball moves, the things that were going to make him better. And Kobe Bryant went into detail. He's like, there were many people that came into the league and that were more talented than me, but I had the desire. But what does desire look like in the Christian life? So, our desires towards God, what do they look like? It's praying to God, having that relationship with Him, constantly letting Him know what's going on in your life. He knows, but He wants you to talk to Him, kind of like your parents. Your parents know what's going on in your life, but they love when you talk to them instead of saying, fine, I'm okay. What, Mom? Stop talking to me. Going into my room. I'm playing Fortnite. Peace. You know, leave me alone. And there's another one, reading. I know some of us are big readers. Some of us hate to read. I'm one of those people that struggle with reading my Bible. It's not one of my strong suits. But I love reading other things. I love reading devotionals and things that talk about God, but when it comes to reading the Bible, I'm like, this gets confusing. God, I don't really know what you're saying in this passage. And then another thing is taking notes during the service. Does anyone take notes in here? Luana. Appreciate you. Yeah, Luana, she's super cool. You guys need to get to know her. But with taking notes, it helps you remember what someone's saying in the message. Does anyone remember what we talked about in the message today? No, because you didn't take notes. Boom. I'm already right. And another one is singing. Jade, I know you know, man. What happened? What did we say in the sermon today?
It was talking about
Boom. He's right. We'll get you a gift card or something, Jaden, because you're the best. He's in our small group. He's always giving the best answers, and I really appreciate him. But another one is singing, something we do every Sunday. Maybe something you guys constantly do in the car. Singing is another big one that I struggled with. I didn't sing until I got to Cornerstone, which I've been about 20 years old. But I love going to concerts. I remember I was at a Post Malone concert, and I remember like jumping up and down and singing, and then after the concert, God convicted me. He's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I don't know. I was like, I was having fun. He's like, you don't do that at church? You don't do that praising me? And I said, you're right. I'll start doing that a little bit better. So, he gave me this verse. It's Matthew 6, 21. It says, for where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. So what kind of desires that you have? Are they being a great gamer, being a great athlete, any kind of artist, maybe the best dancer, best singer? Are they honoring to God? Are they bringing you closer to God? Or are they drawing you farther away? Are they taking you to Him or pushing Him slowly away? So this is why it's so important to surrender some of our time each day. We talk about it during the main service. We talk about it during this service. And it's why we need to surrender our time. That's why we need to worship and read and sing and just love on each other. And so when I think of surrender, I think of this analogy. The analogy of, okay, I forgot this part. Close your eyes. Everyone close your eyes. Okay. Think like you're in a pool, you're swimming. Okay? It's a in-ground pool, so we got a shallow end and a deep end. We're swimming, we get all the way to the deep end, we stop swimming. And we just start sinking, because we're not moving anymore, we're sinking. We finally touch the bottom. And then now open your eyes. That's what surrender feels like. It's just completely letting go and letting your body do what's natural in its habitat. So in Isaiah, it says, "But now, O Lord, you are our Father. We are the clay. You are our potter. We are all the work of your hand." So God's wanting to mold you, change you. But are you letting Him? Are you surrendering that? Or are we keeping distance? Keeping our arm out? Saying, you know God, I really like that piece of me. I don't need you to change it. No God, I'm really good where I'm at. Like, I don't need to get that closer relationship with you. Is it because we're afraid? We're afraid of what He might take away? Or maybe we think we know more. Do we know more than God? Do we think we know ourselves better than God knows us? The God that knows how many hairs on your head? The God that created you? The God that sacrificed His own Son for you? Or the God that knows your name? In Isaiah, it says, that same God that created you knows your name. He knows who Luke is. He knows all of your names. I know like probably 20 of your names. And I'm like, that's pretty good. And then there's our last thing, and it's worship. I talked a little bit about how I just started worshiping probably my junior year of college when I came to Cornerstone. I really learned what worship was all about. But before I came to Cornerstone, I had a home church in Cesar. It's called Jesus Center. And I was at this point in my life where I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I didn't know who I was. And God was like, I called you into ministry. And I said, I understand that, but I don't know what you're talking about in that. And so I'm just mad. And I'm like, I have these no emotions. And I was like, God was like, you took my mom through cancer. I'm like, who are you to do that to me? I was like, I was a follower of you. I said, I wasn't going out doing dumb things like my friends, but I was like, their moms were getting cancer. And He's like, who are you to tell me what is happening in your life? And I was like, no, who are you to try to change mine? And He said, I'm not changing yours, I'm only trying to make it better, but you keep pushing me out. And then I figured out I wasn't worshiping Him with my life, I was worshiping myself. I think it's a lot of times something we struggle with. Because in the society that we live in now, everyone tells you how great you are. Hey man, you're a great basketball player. Keep doing that. You're the best one. The coach doesn't know what he's talking about. You're great. Take every shot. Or maybe you're an artist and you paint beautiful paintings, but you don't get first. And your mom or dad's like, hey, they don't know what art is, okay? They're silly. They don't know what they're doing. You are the greatest artist I've ever seen. So what do we do? What do we do that can change us? Do we eat and glorify God? Are we just disciplined in that? Or do we eat junk food all the time? Do we play sports in honor of God? Do we dance in honor of God? We could even play Fortnite in honor of God. But what do we do instead? We probably stay up all night building 90s, all the way to Sky Limit. Or Maybe we watch TV to escape reality. Because we're like, nah, I'm getting convicted, but you know, Office is there for me. I can watch that. Or maybe we love instant gratification. And where does that come from? Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, with all the lights. Band, y'all can come back up. But worshiping God is everyday life. It's when we step onto the field, court, or stage. It's who we're thanking. Who are we thanking for the abilities that we already have? In Romans it says, do not present your members to sin as instruments for unrighteousness, but present yourselves to God as those who have been brought from death to life, and your members to God as instruments for righteousness. So are you alive, or are you still dead? Are you using your instruments for righteousness, or are we using it for wickedness? Are we pointing it back to ourselves, or pointing it to God? Because the thing that God has given you, the abilities that you are so great at, it's a gift. And it's a gift that is supposed to be glorifying Him. And I get it. I struggled with that all my years. I struggled with it. I even questioned God on it. Like I said, God, I've been doing everything right. He said, no, you've been doing everything for yourself. I said, you're right. You know? But there's a cycle that can lead us back and keep us back in check. And that cycle is worship leads to surrendering. Surrendering leads to desire. And desire leads to worship. And when one of those things get out of check, then we know it's wrong. Because if we stop reading, if we stop worshiping, then what's it for? If we stop surrendering, then there goes our desires. And when our desires die, then we feel there's no point to worship. When we keep ourselves separated, where we have our sports over here and ourselves over here, there's an emptiness that gets filled. And we can fill it with God, man. That's something we can fill it with. But if there's not God in there, there's nothing. And when nothing is there, evil comes in. But God's already beat you. He sent His Son as a sacrifice for me and you, to die for our sins. And man, that's something to celebrate. And when our desires fully line up with God, and we fully surrender to Him, that's when we can truly worship. You guys can bow your heads. Father, I thank you for this day. I thank you that I'm able to worship you in speaking. I am thankful for these students, that they were listening and that they were understanding, Lord God. I pray that their hearts are softened. I pray that these words I spoke were from you, and that is something that they needed to hear. I pray that when they choose to go into their desires, they choose to glorify you in that. Lord God, we love you. We thank you. Amen. Tonight on these last two songs, you're going to get the chance to respond. I want all the leaders here tonight to stand up for me real quick. These people, they're the ones that are praying for you. These people are the ones that are here for you. Utilize them. Share your hearts with them. They're going to be on the outsides. They're going to be on the backs of the wall back there. If there's something in your heart that needs to come out, speak it to them. They will help you. They will guide you. They'll be there just to love on you guys.
Go ahead and stand, guys, as we go into worship.
Okay.
also our King. You have our hearts. Lord, we're so thankful that you took us out of the muck and mire of our sin. You called us to a better life with you. Lord, I pray for each and every one of these students in this room, Lord, this week, that when they are with their friends, when they're with their families, that they would see your light in their lives. In Jesus' name,
Awesome. You guys can go back to your seat and have a seat real quick. So I have just a few things for you before I let you free to do whatever you do. Play Line Square. It's like that's all you do with your time. First off, I want to give a shout out to the Marion High School football team for making yeah, Vincent. I'm proud of you. And Devin. I didn't forget about you, Devin. I don't forget about Devin. Devin just doesn't know anything about Justin Bieber, so it makes it a little easy. I love you though. Thank you. I needed you to say that. I was just going to awkwardly stand here. So yeah, shout out to the Marion High School football team for making the playoffs. I think I saw it for the 15th straight year, something like that. So y'all might be kind of good. Don't let it go to your head. Anyone else in here exciting things happening in your school? No, we hate school. Aubrey,
Choir is having a concert on Thursday.
where do you go to school?
Marion Junior High.
Marion Junior High. Go Junior Wildcats. What else is happening around here? Wait. Wait. Here we go. Shh. We're giving Olivia respect. Could we turn the house lights up just a little bit so I can see?
Softball's going to state.
Where do you go to school?
Marion Junior High.
Marion Junior High. Softball's going to state.
Homecoming dance.
Homecoming's coming up. Who's excited about homecoming? And y'all aren't excited about homecoming? I saw some of you did your HOCO proposal things. I saw yours, Vincent. It was cute. I wish I had a picture to show everyone. I heard your mom did most of it though. I have it. You have it? I'm just kidding. Vincent just died a little on the inside. Anything else exciting happening in your schools? If you go to Marion High School, I have something exciting that's happening on Tuesday morning. Morning? Yeah, you'll still be asleep. And you probably live the closest to the school out of everyone in this room. Tuesday morning, Luke and I will be at your school handing out Pop-Tarts. Yeah. I love Pop-Tarts too. So we'll be at Marion High School on Tuesday handing out Pop-Tarts at some ungodly hour that's before. What time does school even start? What time did you get to school, Vincent? 8 o'clock. Leighton pulls in the parking lot at 8:07. 8:05. Not a minute earlier. So, if you're at Marion High School, we'll be there handing out Pop-Tarts. If you want us to come hand out Pop-Tarts at your school, you have to talk to your Christian club to get us, because we can't just show up to schools and hand out Pop-Tarts. That's a little weird. So, if you have a Christian club at your school, like FIC or First Priority or FCA, we can come hand out Pop-Tarts at your school. So what? You don't, where do you, junior high? We'll talk about it. Yes. Where do you go to school? Okay. Well, you talk to your teachers and I'll bring some Pop-Tarts. Just let me know. We have Pop-Tarts for days. All right. The last thing I need to talk to you about, if you're listening, clap once. Listen, clap twice. Awesome. Some of you can't count. So I have two things to tell you. So last week, on Wednesday, I had the opportunity to go to a small group that met in Carterville at Kate's house. And there were like, how many kids were there? 26 freshmen boys. in a small group. So if you're not in a small group, you have no excuse. Because there are 26 freshman boys in a small group in Carterville learning about God, praying, and reading their Bibles together. It was amazing. So if you need help getting in a small group, let me or Luke know. And there was pizza. Yeah. When Tebow shows up to your small group, Tebow brings pizza. So if you have a small group and you want me to bring pizza, let me know. I'll bring you some pizza. Not every week. I don't make tacos. What do I look like? I didn't make the tacos. Who made the tacos? Crystal Robinson made the tacos. You should write her a thank you note. Hey, we're working through that. If there's, you said the same thing I said. Someone give that guy a paycheck. We're working on it though. Is this an appropriate question for everyone in the room? Let's ask that question first. Does it benefit everyone in the room? Okay then, we'll say the question. It's about the church. Why don't we have a basketball team? Is there church league basketball that happens in Marion, Illinois? I don't know the answer to that. Layton's dad is the pastor, so you ask Layton about that. We had a church league softball team. Your dad was on there? Y'all are getting me off track. I'm cutting into your report. You're 4 square, 9 square time. Okay, last thing. If you get our text messages, you should have got a message to me telling you that we are going to fall retreat in November. Yeah, fall retreat in November. So if you didn't get that message, you can text. Can we go to the next slide? You can text Tribe to that number and I'll send you back the details about fall retreat. Here's the good news. If you sign up today by midnight, you pay half the cost. So make sure you tell your parents that. It's 50% off until midnight. November 8th through the 11th. It's Veterans Day weekend. If you can't be there the whole time, we can talk about it. You pay a less fee. You can come and go as you please. We're going to the camp that is in West Frankfort, so not too far away for you to do the things you need to do. Yes. So fall retreat is a time where we're going to worship together, we're going to play together, we're going to have archery tag, we're going to play capture the flag, there's going to be a bonfire, there's going to be s'mores, and we're just going to hang out, and it's going to be fantastic. So if you have any more questions about it, I can answer them afterwards. Everyone look at me real quick. One last thing. If money is an issue for you going to fall retreat, come talk to me. I don't want money to stop you from going to fall retreat because I believe God's going to do some amazing things at fall retreat. That's all I got. We'll connect after. Go ahead. So if you pay by midnight, it's $30. So tomorrow it goes up to $45. Right. It's half off. It's $60. So 50% off tonight. Tomorrow you'll still get a discount, and if you pay after October 20th, it's $60. You are partially right, Madison. I appreciate you. That's all I got. If you need anything, you can stop and ask any of the leaders. If anything in today's message or during worship time, God wanted you to stop and talk to somebody, you didn't do it, don't leave without doing so. I love you guys. You look great. Go have fun.